Monster Jam fans, welcome out to Anaheim, California, as we are here at Angel Stadium of Anaheim as we have 2014 Monster Jam action. Starting us off tonight is Garrett Liddell in Detour. This is only a freestyle competition that we are doing the commentary on today because I felt like, well, commentaries are really fun when I'm having a lot of fun. And yes, racing is exciting every once in a while, but I felt like just doing a freestyle commentary today. And what better to do than one of the most iconic homes of Monster Jam, an Anaheim Stadium show. And obviously, these shows are always at the top of the year. They ring in the new year of Monster Jam, and they're always really a lot of fun. So Detour starting us off in this great freestyle competition tonight. And I wanted to just let you guys know as he drives around the track, kicking us off tonight with his 2-minute freestyle, that I am going to try, it is my goal, and I'm going to try and stick to it. I know I've said this before, but I actually really am dedicated to it now. I'm going to try to do commentaries again back every week for Saturday nights. I'm going to work on them during the week, and they will be posted Saturday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, the same time that I used to do, because they were doing their best when I was consistent with it, and more people liked them when I was consistent with it, and I know that there are people who want to watch them. So, here we are with our second straight Saturday night commentary, and hopefully we can keep this up as we go throughout. You can obviously leave comments down below for what commentary you want to see next. Now, as I've been doing for the past two commentaries that I've done, I've been doing shout-outs, and we're going to do an early one today so that we can get more people interested and know that I do these every commentary. Every commentary I'm doing from now on, I will be shouting fans out that commented the magical word from the previous show that I told them to write in the comments as Detour gets some solid air here. So let's name off those fans that deserve those shout-outs. As Detour now goes right through the RV that is on the track to start off the night. So, we actually don't have any shout-outs from last week because nobody commented the magic words. I guess nobody stuck around or nobody thought to comment it. So, it's early. You have a good chance here to get your shout-out in the next video as Detour gets a nice donut there. What you need to comment down below on this video. Pumped for Saturday commentaries. That's all you gotta write. If you say that, you will get shouted out in the next video at some point in the video while I announce the next shout out criteria. The score is a 17 for Detour. A solid run to start us off as now Pat Gerber in Shocker comes onto the track. So again, if you're interested in getting shouted out in the next commentary, make sure you comment pumped for Saturday commentaries, and you can be shouted out next week, as everyone that does that will be shouted out. Nobody will be left out as long as you comment before the next week's commentary. Pat Gerber in Shocker, a longtime veteran of the sport, as we will now actually get into covering the Monster Jam show today. It's always good to do that during the first freestyle because typically the first freestyle tends to be not necessarily bad, but they're just kicking off the show. Normally not many amazing things happen, so it's good to kind of lay the groundwork for what is to come, especially here in the rest of tonight's competition, as Pat Gerber is seemingly just trying to find his way around the track. But again, as the first drivers come out, they're tending to be a little bit more cautious. They go a little bit slower, a little bit softer. The adrenaline momentum's not as high because they're just feeling out the track. They are the test dummies for these tracks, and back in this time of 2014, the track was different in every single show. The ramps were different, angles were different, heights were different, so you didn't know what you were going to get. So these drivers that are coming out first were really the ultimate test dummies, which is why back in the day, the lineups were crafted very differently than they are today. Back in the day, you would typically see it go from, I wouldn't say worst to best, but they would typically have the lower level drivers going first and the better drivers going last. They would tend to go in order typically in terms of skill to try and make it so that it really was just testing out the track for those guys that are coming later. And Pat Gerber right now is doing a fairly good job of that. He's just kind of hitting a lot of obstacles. I would say that Detour did a pretty good job just of really hitting everything. Pat Gerber has kind of tried to find his way around the track here and hasn't done too much. Now, in today's world of 2021 Monster Jam, what we tend to see is they'll typically throw out, they try and mix it up a little bit, as Shocker getting a nice donut here, the second donut we've seen tonight. Both drivers trying to use that to get a little bit more points, as that's a 9 for Shocker. In today's world, we are tending to see sometimes, typically they'll put a driver out first that they feel can get the bar set high. Back in the day, it was just to test out the track as Mark Schrader and Devastator sets the bar with a nice little slap wheelie. But, you know, in today's world, we'll see a Jamie Garner, a guy who back in the day could possibly be coming out later, as Mark Schrader is stuck on the RV, going to require some real difficult maneuvering to get himself out of that spot. He's pushing hard, he's pushing that transmission, that motor, those tires, everything to the limit, but he is stuck and done. It is a 6. As now Nicole Johnson comes out. She is definitely a solid freestyler. Watch out for her. She could set the bar high for the rest of the competition, starting off with another wheelie there. So Scooby-Doo getting the fans riled up before she's really even gotten going. So as I was saying, in today's time, we tend to see a driver coming out first like Jamie Garner, then they'll mix in drivers going throughout, so that you really you're never really having, like we had back in the day, of maybe 5-6 runs to start off the night that are kind of just slower. You're getting that constant action going, mixed in with some slower runs. And right now, Nicole Johnson is kind of playing that part as the 4th driver out here. I mean, she's had 3 hits now, and all of them have been good. She's kind of nose-picked all of them, gotten them into wheelies, so Scooby-Doo definitely very different from what we've seen from the first 3. We've also got to keep in mind that she is coming out before a lot of the really heavy hitters in this show, so she is going to need to set that bar really high with guys like Lindsey Wink and Carl Van Horn still to come later in the field. Going over that racing lane, and we know Nicole Johnson, who is going for a wild ride. The wheel comes off, she flips over, parks herself on a dumpster, and Scooby-Doo is done, tying for the lead with a 17. So, as I was saying, she's a good driver, but she finds herself in a heap a little too soon. Now we have Andrew Peckham in Tropical Thunder, a truck that, boy, this was one of the coolest trucks back in the day, freestyling here in Anaheim in 2014. Again, this is 2014. This is 7 years ago. Crazy to think that 2014 Monster Jam was 7 years ago. Todd LeDuc won his first ever World Finals championship over 7 years ago with that really just the iconic LeDuc lead that set Monster Jam ablaze. But Andrew Peckham always seemed to find himself in competitions like this where he would be more towards the beginning of the pack, but a guy who just goes out there, lays down 2 solid minutes, and occasionally can get some solid air, maybe some wheelies. Was definitely one of the pioneers of the early 2010s, leading into that early 2010s Monster Jam, a guy who's been driving since well before I started watching the sport. Getting a nice little slap wheelie there. We see that this track right now seems to lend itself to wheelies. We'll see who can really utilize those the best. Might see a guy like Carl Van Horn later coming out and getting some 6 slap wheelies. There aren't tons of drivers in this field that I would say are guys who go for slap wheelies like that. No Lupe Sosas, no Mark McDonald, so a little bit of a different field here. But Peckham in this Tropical Thunder, definitely, I would say the momentum is a step above what we have seen from some of the other drivers tonight. Nicole Johnson was certainly at a greater pace. Is Peckham in trouble? Going to try and save it, but he corkscrews himself into the ground, and the run for Tropical Thunder ends with a 17, a 3-way tie now for the #1 spot. But now here is Kelvin Raymer, and if anyone's going to do slap wheelies in this run, it is Kelvin Raymer, and time flies. This truck is built to do slap wheelies, and already one right there. Didn't have enough room to really walk it, but I completely expect Time Flies to really walk the dog. I didn't see Time Flies in the parking spot, but whoa, a crazy move there. Keeping himself on all fours, pinned against the wall. He is going to maneuver out of that. But we all know Time Flies, and if you don't know Time Flies, Kelvin Raymer, a super slap wheelie fan. He loves doing those slap wheelies. The truck is designed for it. He's got a wheelie bar in the back, so he can walk it as long as he wants and not flip over. One of the oddest designs of Monster Jam trucks, too, as he gets a huge sky wheelie there, popping it on the back end, but the truck settles itself down nicely so the run can continue. But this body has always caught the eyes of fans. Definitely a beautiful body. One of the most pretty ones you will ever see. And it's oddly designed, oddly shaped, but Kelvin Raymer has made it his own and has really taken it and ran with it. And he makes freestyle his own little unique thing, as he will now try and just spin it around into something here. When these guys that are coming out early are going early, as he goes for that same move before and another sky wheelie. If you want to see someone put down a good freestyle, Kelvin Raymer, I mean, he's really hit or miss. He's either going to throw down 2 minutes with some wacky moves like we've seen so far, or he'll have a broken truck or some issues. But right now, Time Flies is really flying across this track. You can see Kelvin Raymer in many shows across my channel. I've done so many commentaries of this guy, one of the veterans of the sport. And honestly, a guy who really just belongs in Monster Jam at all times. He's always, I mean, whether he's coming out first or sixth in freestyle, he's always good to put down a fun run as he spins it into a donut. A really good donut for Time Flies, by far the best of the night as he is kicking up plenty of dirt, not stopping anytime soon. Boy, oh boy, is Kelvin Raymer ripping it up or what? I mean, this has been almost 30 seconds of donuts right now. His time is up and it earns him a 19. Kelvin Raymer in Time Flies with a spectacular freestyle. But now Alex Blackwell comes out, and he is going to try and jump the bar. Nobody has hit the number 20 yet. We'll see if he can do so. Blackwell lining up for the jammer. We didn't see Time Flies do many slap wheelies, so Alex Blackwell comes in and decides he's going to do one, and a nice one to boot. I teased Time Flies possibly doing slap wheelies or wheelies. He didn't really do any. He really stick to that big air, which is something that's not really trademark for him, but Blackwell is starting to mix them in on a track that is clearly designed to have those built in there. Alex Blackwell and Captain's Curse, no Monster Jam World Finals championships, but one of the best drivers to have never won one. Almost won it in 2009 against Tom Ensign, Max D, but unfortunately, as we all know the story, flipping into the stands, he probably would have won the race if he didn't do that. But alas, 0 World Finals championships for Blackwell, who still ended his career when he did with a quite impressive resume. But back in the days of Captain's Curse that we're seeing right now, he was always one of the most fun drivers to watch in the sport. A lock for every World Finals. Blackwell, so far, I would say the pace is about right to beat Time Flies. Really, with the pace he's at, if he just fills the clock, he should take the lead, but he's going to need to do some bigger moves if he wants to have a chance at winning the freestyle competition tonight, because so far the bar has been set, but it's not set very high. But if anyone's going to grab that score of a 20 or above, right now it looks like Captain's Curse is going to be a chance for the first. Getting some nice air, cross-threading over the middle. That's the biggest air we've seen tonight, so that'll definitely factor into the judges' scoring here. Alex Blackwell, along with the other drivers on this floor tonight with a beautiful slap wheelie, is just trying to make his bid to get into the Monster Jam World Finals of 2014, and he does a good job at making a bid here as he takes the lead with the 21, the first driver to crack into the 20s here. As I predicted, he is now the new leader. Now Dan Rodoni and El Toro Loco coming out in the fan-favorite El Toro Loco truck, blowing the smoke. He's on his own chassis, but with an El Toro Loco body on it, so we'll see how he can handle it here, freestyling in Anaheim. Dan Rodoni, always a fan favorite. He's such a nice guy. Always was just, he was smiling all the time. He even made the World Finals this year in 2014, ironically enough. I was talking about guys making their bids. Alex Blackwell made it there. Dan Rodoni made it there too. I have done a commentary for the 2014 Monster Jam World Finals. You can find that on my channel too. Getting a nice sky wheelie there. So you can check that out. I do have it somewhere on the screen here for you to click on. You can see there how Dan Rodoni competed in the World Finals. You can see Todd the Duke with some of the biggest air in Monster Jam history. Not to give too much away if you haven't seen it already, but if you have, go back and watch it. It was a fun show, and Dan Rodoni got there with moves like that. A great sky wheelie. I mean, 2014 was really the year that Dan Rodoni broke out. He had always been a solid driver, middle of the road, but he really jumped in to really that upper 70% here with this season. And I mean, freestyles like this are reasons why he earned that spot in the Monster Jam World Finals. And right now, this El Toro Loco body is not hanging on for long because Rodoni is really doing a good job and is making a shot for the hot seat that Alex Blackwell just took over with the score of a 21. So Rodoni definitely making a push to take over the lead here, and maybe even a chance for him to take home the freestyle win if he can mix in a huge move. But I would say already more wow moments than we saw from Blackwell. He's getting good air, popping the smoke so that the fans could see it. Always an engaging truck and an engaging driver to boot. Rodoni getting to the end of his run here, the final 30 seconds as he just pushes through, hitting so many different ramps, but I do want to see one more great move. Right now, at this point, I'd say Blackwell and he are probably about tied, maybe a slight edge to Captain's Curse. We'll see if El Toro Loco can finish the time with a great move and maybe jump ahead. Trying to cross right over the middle, just doing different things, changing what the judges have seen tonight so that maybe they give him a chance at taking that lead. Gonna go for another cross thread here and some nice air right at the end of the time. So El Toro Loco taking a chance. We'll see if it pays off, but right now it does. I mean, it's a tie. He tied with Alex Blackwell, a 21, so just what I thought. As Hot Wheels, Scott Buteau is on the track now to freestyle, a guy who's always a threat to win this competition and could take that 21 score and throw it to the side with his own good freestyle. Scott Buteau, always a threat to win the freestyle competition, a potential future World Finals freestyle champion. He has finished at the top in many World Finals competitions. A guy who certainly has earned the right to be called a great freestyler, getting some great air. Hot Wheels, though, always a truck to watch. It's a fan favorite because of the body. It's just beautiful. Getting some nice air. Now, this truck in particular, Team Hot Wheels Firestorm, was one of 2 times that Monster Jam let the fans determine the fate of a Monster Jam truck. The first time was when the Monster Jam crew asked the fans what they wanted to see from a brand new truck. They gave the fans 5 options for a truck, and Zombie was the winner. Zombie, the first ever fan voted on truck, and it was also the last. And then here for Hot Wheels at the Monster Jam World Finals, fans voted on what they wanted the name to be. They had about 4 or 5 different names, and Hot Wheels Firestorm is the one that won out in the end, and it stuck. I mean, it was a really perfect name for this truck, and Scott Buteau just sailing here in Anaheim, showing that this truck deserved to get the chance to be given its own name. And he is just flying right now. The air definitely unparalleled to anything we have seen so far tonight. I think this is setting himself up to take the lead and maybe even take home a win. I would say right now, if he keeps this pace up, the lead should be his. He's down to the last few seconds, but Scott Buteau seemingly always good for a backflip and massive air, the biggest we've seen tonight. It breaks the rear end of the truck. That should be the end of the run, but honestly, it might be enough for him to take the lead. What a phenomenal freestyle, and it is. By 1 point, Hot Wheels scores a 22 and takes the lead. Frank Kreml in the FS1 Cletus now will have to try and follow that up and take the lead away himself. A veteran in the Monster Jam sport, one of the most veteran drivers in this field, coming out towards the end of the competition because of what he can do. Frank Kreml going over those cars. Those cars have given a lot of really great elevation tonight. So you might see as it gets a little bit flatter with more drivers hitting it, more people might tend to shy away from it. But for these drivers that are hitting it when it's more fresh, it is really giving them some good air. And I also love that obstacle on the other side of the track that's in front of the fans. It gives the drivers a chance to really just jump right across the fans, get the fans up close and personal look to what a flying Monster Jam truck looks like. Kreml right now has used really the outside of the floor. He hasn't really touched the inside, so I'm sure he's going to work his way in as the time winds out. He's used every single obstacle on the outskirts of the track, and now he will take a bite out of the center with some nice air over the racing lane. Kreml's going to need to fill the clock and get some nice air if he wants to beat out Hot Wheels. You got to keep in mind, Hot Wheels did not fill the clock. So that is something to keep in mind here. A guy that doesn't fill the clock, I mean, he had the big air, but if you fill the clock and have somewhat similar air, you should be able to take the lead. Frank Kreml looking good, but that was a bad bounce. Broke the 4-link bar, rolls over, and scores a 17. So not a lead taker. But now Rod Schmidt in the Monster Mutt Rottweiler will enter the track as the bone is thrown. And the Rottweiler is ready to take a bite out of the competition here tonight in Anaheim. The fans here in Anaheim have gotten a pretty solid freestyle, but right now, The Team Hot Wheels Firestorm truck, Scott Buteau, sits in the hot seat, and at the moment, if the show were to end right now, would be your freestyle winner. The Monster Mutt Rottweiler truck, one of the older additions to the Monster Mutt Monster Jam family. The first Monster Mutt truck was the original Monster Mutt, such a cool truck, everyone loved it. And then the Monster Mutt Dalmatian found its way into the sport, also a really cool truck. And then the Monster Mutt Rottweiler later joined in. And ever since then, we have not had any other Monster Mutt trucks. Oh boy, he is going for a wild ride. Rod Schmidt trying to keep it on all fours, going for a crazy ride near the barricade, and that is it. Could not save it. It's a 14 for the Rottweiler. Now Donald Epidendio in Titan comes out, getting some nice air. Epidendio at this point in his career was relatively new to the sport of Monster Jam. I mean, he had his own monster truck, he made it himself, and here he is competing in Anaheim. But Epidendio, at this point in his career, getting huge air. Some of the biggest we've seen tonight, was certainly a rising star. Made it to his first Monster Jam World Finals in 2014. Always a guy to be a threat in really every competition. He never really had the stuff to win tons of competitions, but he always seemed to be right in the middle of those impressive runs. Donald Epidendio in Titan was also in one of the scariest crashes in Monster Jam history, where it was actually this year in 2014 at the Monster Jam World Finals in qualifying, where his brakes just didn't work, went into the turn, smacked hard on the wall, but it was a real test of the safety of these Monster Jam trucks because he went out unscathed. He hit that wall at about 60 miles an hour, a straight up dumpster, and it was just a hard impact. He was okay. The safety measures of these trucks are so unbelievably good that it kept Donald Epidendio from even getting a scratch. Without those safety measures, Epidendio's life could have been in danger after that. So it just goes to show you that these trucks are built so safely. And Epidendio is really testing the limits tonight. But so far, I mean, the run has been good, but I wouldn't say it has been over the top. He had that one bit of huge air, but ever since, he's kind of just hit a bunch of obstacles on the track. But you've got to keep in mind that with the run that Hot Wheels put down, he had air like this, but he didn't fill the clock. So with the air Epidendio's had, filling the clock, he might be in around the same ballpark as Scott Buteau right now. And Titan's run is over. Nothing special, but he does take the lead. It's a 25. Really a big testament to how important filling the clock is. And he did that, filled the clock, took the lead away from Hot Wheels, as now Lindsey Wink in the Lucas Oil Crusader will now hit the track. Lindsey Wink in the Lucas Oil Crusader, one of the best Monster Jam drivers to ever do it. Still driving today in 2021. And he has been a pilot of this Lucas Oil Crusader truck for many years. This truck was debuted in 2011, I want to say. And ever since, he has been in this truck. And, I mean, the truck is cool. He flies around in it. And he really makes his name known with the incredible freestyles that he throws down. So Donald Epidendio sitting in the hot seat. I will say, I mean, Epidendio's run wasn't as great as Hot Wheels, but filling the clock, so important. He had those two really big hits. The judges weighed it. They weighed the fact that he filled the clock. And honestly, out of the runs that have filled that clock, he had the best runs. So Lindsey Wink is going to try and change it with a huge leap there, but a weird landing. And his run is done as he is stuck on top of that bus, trying to save it. He's pushing hard. And the truck finally gives out. It is a 23. If he filled that clock, Lindsey Wink would have been your new leader, but instead he's perched on top of that bus. Now we have Ryan Anderson and Son of a Digger, who will come right out of his parking spot and get a nice jump to start his time off here. And Anderson is already looking good. One of the best Monster Jam drivers in the history of the sport. Anderson always seems to find himself at the top of every competition he's in, whether it's coming in second, first, but he has a problem. That back right wheel looks a little wobbly to me. I think that's going to be coming off sometime soon. And yep, there it goes. And that is going to seriously impede Ryan Anderson's abilities here to win the freestyle competition. He is going to keep fighting through it, but the chances of him having a great run with only 3 wheels just diminish greatly. And they're going to shut him off. That might be the end of the run for Ryan Anderson and Son of a Digger. What a brutal break, and yes it is. Son of a Digger scores a 12. A promising run cut way too short because of a broken truck. Tom Menson, Max D now. The Professor, the 11-time World Finals champion, is on the track in Max D. And right now, Tom Mentz is still riding on a high from last year because this is one of the first shows of 2014. 2013 was his 10-year anniversary, and he won his 11th Monster Jam World Finals Championship that year by winning the freestyle competition. So Tom begins his quest for World Finals Championship number 12 this year. Oh my! The air from Tom Mentz, the biggest we've seen off of that ramp by about triple. Tom Mentz is just a specimen, one of the most different drivers you will ever see, not only with the way he drives, but with the truck that he drives. With the air like that, his truck can handle it because it's a front-engine truck. But right now, Mentz is in trouble as he is dug into the ground, and his run is done with a 17. Barely even lasted a minute, but scored 17 points. But don't leave your seats quite yet, because following Tom Mentz's impressive short-lived run, we have the icon, Dennis Anderson in Gravedigger, is here looking to knock down Donald Epidendio, who still sits in the hot seat. Epidendio has stood up there in that hot seat as drivers continue to throw punches at him and his scores, but none of them have been able to take down Epidendio himself. But no one better to do it than this man right here, Dennis Anderson. Just listen to this truck for a little bit as you can hear the way that Anderson maneuvers his machine as he freestyles. Truly a work of art whenever Dennis Anderson is on the track. He shreds that body down just to absolutely nothing whenever he's out there. The throttle control, the wheel control, sawing at the wheel, slamming on the throttle, hitting the brakes. Dennis Anderson probably has the most control over a uncontrolled truck than I've ever seen. A vertical sky wheelie right there and sets it down. What I mean by that is that Dennis Anderson is in the most control of a truck that seems to always be out of control that I've ever seen, and he leaps right past the Crusader, and all but the nose has fallen off of Gravedigger. Just listen to him work as he flies across the track, getting in a little bit of trouble, but he saves it, and Dennis Anderson boosting his scores higher by the second. But now he slams himself into the cars over there. We'll have to throw it in reverse, and this definitely takes a bite out of his time, but I think they just shut him off for that. We will have to wait and see. Dennis Anderson's run to this point was spectacular, but is it good enough to beat a 25 if they do cut him off from here? Let's see if they fire him up again. The truck is fired, but will he be able to run?
He's cracking his knuckles in the truck.
And he is going. Dennis Anderson refired, mad, and ready to destroy Gravedigger here in Anaheim. Sometimes you gotta just sit back and admire as icons and legends go to work and do their best. A master at his craft, Dennis Anderson is just shredding this Anaheim freestyle course right now. And to me, without question, this should be enough to take the lead if he can even get close to filling the clock, because this has been the best run tonight. gets pinned into that corner there, into the dumpsters, and I believe that'll be the end of the run for Dennis Anderson in Gravedigger. It is a 26, enough for him to take the lead. But we are not done yet. There is one truck to go, but this is an encore because Dennis Anderson did just win freestyle. That's right, Dennis Anderson, your freestyle winner. Congratulations to him. But we've got Doomsday in the house here as Doomsday tries to throw down a sick encore for these fans. Doomsday is always an exciting truck whenever it comes onto the track, so get ready for one of the most mysterious monster trucks in the sport. This is Doomsday. Doomsday is going to do its own little freestyle here, encoring onto the track to show you fans what a real Monster Jam freestyle looks like after Dennis Anderson just snagged that freestyle win. Doomsday's such a pretty truck, too. It's too bad that Doomsday didn't really get to run much. I mean, yes, it was on a tour for a little while, but honestly, this is such a beautiful truck. It's too bad that there wasn't, like, a set driver, even though Colt Stevens, we knew, drove it for a year or two. It's too bad that he didn't actually get to be the named Doomsday driver for a season, because I think it would be cool to just have Doomsday out there at every show. It's a pretty truck, and it always seemed to put on a great show. And when Colt Stevens was behind the wheel, he did great. And back in 2014, they had a different driver freestyling every week in this truck. And Doomsday getting some big air, leaping over the center ramp. I mean, Dennis Anderson threw down a sick freestyle, so Doomsday is just out here to add on to the incredible night that these Monster Jam fans have had. Dennis Anderson just capped off the freestyle competition beautifully. So these guys, they've already had their fill. They don't need any more. This is just an added little drop of sugar to that cup of coffee to try and give it a little bit more sweetness, because this is already an incredible night of freestyle as Doomsday is going to whip it into a donut, just giving the fans a lot of exciting moves so far tonight. Nothing over the top, but honestly, every extra freestyle that you didn't pay for, well, it's always fun. The iconic Doomsday song, too. Anytime you hear those sirens singing, you know you're in for a crazy ride. And I mean, when they debuted this truck, it was just so awesome because it's special, it's unique, it's different, and it just, I mean, 2014 was its inaugural year. We had the Doomsday Encore. It's a fun truck, and it's just something different that Monster Jam decided to do, and honestly, it was a complete success. And it gave Colt Stevens, for the time that he was driving it, a truck to drive. And obviously, Colt Stevens was a really promising driver, and he turned out to be a good driver in this truck, and then became a really great driver because of it, because fans didn't really remember him, and then he kept driving, kept doing well, and it blossomed him into the driver that he is today, because fans didn't really know who was driving it, but they knew that Doomsday put on a good show. And just like that tonight, this encore is over, this show is over. A great time here in Anaheim as Doomsday wrapped it up tonight. Maybe not. I mean, it looked like he was done. Yeah, he's done. Doomsday is done for tonight. Thank you guys for watching this commentary. We're back to Saturday commentaries every week, hopefully. Thank you guys for watching. Comment down below shows that you want to see me do commentaries on next. I will see you all next time.